buy what it was called, but the start of it talks about 4 feet, a 4 foot coffin, a foot for every year. It was something about it, I think a young child had to die. Like, and I remember, geez, that stuck me as a 13 or 14-year-old that normally wouldn't have, wouldn't have felt that much kind of a wow moment with poetry. I remember that really, the fact, you're thinking, okay, a 4-year-old child, that's awful, but yeah,
It hits you.
yeah, it does, absolutely. So then you went back, and what postgrad did you? Was it back up in Galway, or was it online, or?
No, I did. So initially, I wasn't allowed to just get accepted because I didn't have an undergrad.
Credits or whatever, was it?
Yeah, kind of that. Like I was going back to do a masters. I didn't have the undergrad in. I had done psychology, and like my life experiences and
Yeah.
stuff in India had helped for it.
Yeah.
But I had to go back and do this kind of like level 7 course, I think it was, in counselling skills.
Right, okay.
So I did that down in Waterford. It was over like 12 weeks or
Was
something like that.
that kind of out from WIT, was it?
It was
or?
from a college. It's actually a private college in Limerick
Right.
called ICAS, so the
Right,
Irish
okay.
College of Humanities and Applied Sciences. So they do like some business courses. They do a lot of kind of psychological courses, CBT, counselling, supervision
good.
and stuff.
So you
so
got
that's
that
what I was
in counselling studies, is it? Or?
in counselling and psych. So that I did that. That was studies.
Right.
And then after that, actually, I didn't even finish it because I got TB in the middle of it and I couldn't finish it, which was great.
Right.
So then I was allowed to go back because obviously I couldn't finish it. So
Yeah,
then that
yeah.
September I wanted to start, and I was allowed to start that September. I was doing a master's in counselling and psychotherapy. You had the option to do it over 1 or 2 years. I said 2 because I just thought it'd be too much.
Yeah.
And I was working while I was doing
And you've
that.
been out. What was the gap of years between when you finished third level to going back to doing your
That was
4 or 5
no more.
more?
Oh,
Sure, you
was
were an
it?
old fella, really, Eddie.
I was 2013. It's back in 18, I think.
Right, so 5
18,
years.
So yeah,
roughly
5. Yeah, it
6
was 5 years.
Right.
Yeah.
And then what were you studying in the sort of postgraduate or the masters? Then was, you said,
Counselling and psychotherapy.
counselling and psychotherapy. And did you enjoy it?
Loved it.
Loved it.
Yeah.
Was there any particular part of that training that sticks out to you as being really interesting? Or?
Well, it's not just like, say, I suppose that's a good thing to know as well as when you're going to third level or whatever. It's not, in second level it's more top down, whereas in third level it's more bottom up.
Right.
So like my course, part of it was that I had to go for 50 hours of therapy.
Right.
So that's like you're going into all your chambers
There's
or
a
whatever.
serious process of self-evaluation there then, isn't there?
Because it's like you have to know before you can try and help someone else, you have to know your own kinks and whatever. So like if I have something that's going
And
on.
am I right in saying now, for practitioners, nearly, I wouldn't call it CBT, but they have to, say, people that are providing counselling, am I right in saying that do they have to do a bit themselves then, or is that just when you're training as such?
Well, like when you're training, you do, normally most courses around the world will ask that you do a block of that. So like it could be 30 hours, it could be 50 hours, it can be in group, it can be through different things. It doesn't just have to be like one-on-one, but for me it was one-on-one.
Right.
But yeah, now that I'm working, like say when you're also alongside that, you have to do your practice placement. So when you're practicing, every 5 hours that you have to go see supervision. So that's a person who is trained, who's a therapist, but also trained to be a supervisor. So they've done a master's in supervision.
Okay.
So then you sit with them, you talk about what you've done, how you're doing in it, because sometimes the topics can be heavy that you're listening
Of course,
to.
I'd imagine, yeah.
Yeah,
Quite
so
heavy.
then you have to work through that, and then also like to make sure that you're not doing any harm to the other person. Are you doing everything in their interest?
Yeah.
What have you done? Is there other ways of doing it? What can you do again? So that same process, that supervision process,
Fascinating, yeah.
that's still now. It's every 8 hours.
Right, okay.
When you're qualified, it becomes every 8 hours. So like you still have to check in. You still have to check in with your therapist and go through what you're doing with your clients.
Right.
Yeah.
And would you ever envisage yourself going to that level as well then, where people who come to you that are down the line at any stage, being a supervisor, say, as well, or?
I don't, at the moment, I don't have an interest in that, no.
You have your own practice now, and you're enjoying that?
Yeah, I love it, yeah. My own practice in care, just opened up this year.
Yeah. We can get a plug in there now if you have
In
any
the
email.
square, EK Counselling that
Very good. You're enjoying it?
I love it, yeah.
Really,
I'm not doing, I'm doing that at the moment with my parents own a pub in Care. So I'm the counsellor who runs a pub.
Yeah. Well, that's a
It's a
conflict
book.
of interest there, isn't
That's
it?
a book in itself, the paradox of life.
Yeah, and I suppose the last two questions, Eddie. One, how would you, I suppose this is it's for the collage, you know, we're hoping to talk to past students on their experiences in the collage, whether they be positive or negative, because you know secondary school isn't for everyone. Some people would look back, most people look back with fond memories of secondary school, and they nearly get fonder the older you get. But some people wouldn't have enjoyed secondary school. Would you say you enjoyed your time here as a student in the collage?
Yeah, I did enjoy it. It was fantastic. Like even like I suppose my brother went to Rockwell, I went to Care, and that was up to ourselves. But
Yeah,
just like I was kind of thinking of it, it's like you get to know every kind of a person. So in Care when I was in school, like there was people from different countries, there was people from different cultures,
yeah,
there was people from every kind of like what would you say like I know it mightn't sound right, but like strata of society. So
yeah,
like
yeah.
you're mixing with everyone, you're friendly with everyone.
Yeah.
Whereas I think some schools it's just echo chambers
Yeah.
that you're just in with the same
same
kind of
background,
people, same background as yourself. So like
Yeah,
you don't
yeah.
actually you don't get to really see true reality. You don't get to see all the people. You don't get
People
to
you will be dealing with in life from all
yeah,
different.
and just like variety is a spice of life. You don't want
Yeah.
one way. You don't want to be doing one thing all your life and just seeing that.
Yeah.
You want to take the good of every different type of person and to see the bad in every type of person, just as a learning for yourself. And I think that is one of the really good things that I got from Care in hindsight. The sport aspect of it was excellent. Like the teaching was great as well.
Good man.
You know everything. Like I couldn't
Yeah.
say I had like a bad experience. No, it was enjoyable. Like it was very enjoyable.
Great stuff. And the last question then, I suppose you mentioned earlier to any student that might be in the school and thinking about doing something like the first year started this week, and you know the poor devils are coming in, some of them coming in from small numbers in primary school, and they're coming into this big operation here, and you know it's great to see they're going well, they're adapting well, they're you know they're trying their best. It's fantastic to see. But I suppose there'll be times over the next few years, like you and even myself as well with the show, where we were kind of saying, geez, I love to do it, but I suppose you'd be telling them, look, carpe diem, go for it. Like, but I suppose from your own background and your own life experience more than anything else, would there be anything you just kind of a one-liner for students as they go forward in their studies and in life in general? Like, just I'm not looking for a big massive piece of.
I have one.
No.
I have one just popped into my head, but it's from a guy who survived the Holocaust. Actually, Viktor Frankl, a great book called Man's Search for Meaning. But what he says, and I'll break it down in more simple language. But like he said, between stimulus and response, there is a gap, and within that gap, you have the power to choose. You have the freedom and power to choose. So normally, when we feel anxious or feel afraid or nervous or whatever it is, like it's normal. It's a normal reaction. It's absolutely normal to be anxious. People think you shouldn't be anxious. You should be. It's very normal. So like it's okay. And then in that idea of a gap, just because you react, you can learn not to react.
Yeah.
Like there's so many ways you can do it. Like there's breathing techniques. You can go talk to the person in the school. I don't know if you
There's a
counselor
few,
or something like that.
A
in the
few here,
school.
they're very good now.
You know,
They have a great relationship with the students, which
Yeah.
is great, you know.
so things like that, just to like kind of realize that you are not your thoughts.
Yeah.
You're not your thoughts. We think we're thoughts. We're not. So like if you're thinking, oh, I can't do that, it's just like the cloud outside. It will move.
Yeah.
Just have that knowledge and know that it's okay,
Yeah,
and that you don't have to just be like, oh, I can't do it. No, you can. You absolutely
Right.
can.
Well, look at Eddie. That's fantastic. Really, really grateful for you coming in. You're the first to say, yeah, go on, Gavin, you devil, yeah. And I think it's been fascinating to kind of talk to you about your journey. And I hope we get a few that will watch in the first place. But I hope if they do that, they'll get something from it, you know. So,
Cheers.
all good.
Good man. Thank you.
So look, that's concludes our first chat with a past student.